Listen now, Mr. Kansas Law Dog. Law don't go around here. Savvy?
Welcome to Law Dogs. I'm Jeff Henley, and with me as always is Annabelle. Today we've got on tap torts. Tort comes from the French to be wrong, to have a wrong. It's also that fancy dessert you've seen, but those have an E on the end. A tort can look like this, it can look like that, it can look like one of these, or it could be one of these awful big things like this. Torts are pretty much at the root of just about every civil wrong that we have. And the idea behind tort law is to make people whole and to compensate them from the accidents, the injuries, the bad acts, or other misconduct that may befall them as a result of another. Torts are at the root of all civil wrongs. In fact, they're very similar to crimes. And indeed, just about every crime is also a tort. But the big difference is, in tort law, the idea is to compensate the injured party. In criminal law, the whole idea is to prosecute the wrongdoer and to punish him. The person filing a lawsuit is what we call a plaintiff or a complainant. Why? Because he's complaining about something. And the person being sued is either a defendant or a respondent. Pretty much the same way as it is in criminal law, whereas in criminal law, the person filing the action is the prosecution. Now in tort law, how do you make somebody whole? You can't bring them back to life if they're dead. You can't paste their arm back exactly the same way as it was before it was busted. You give them money. In criminal law, you punish them. You put them behind bars, you put them on probation. But in tort law, you compensate them for their losses. So when we're talking about compensating, we could be talking about physical injury, mental injury, pain and suffering, property destruction, loss of earning capacity, anything that's tied to the person's losses, and you're hoping to pay him some money for that loss. In order for there even to be a tort, you have to have some ingredients. Not like the ones that you have that go in the fancy French dessert, but what we call elements. And those elements are largely this. You have to have a standard, a law, a duty is what we call it. Some legal duty that requires a code of conduct. It could be a traffic law. It could be the standard of care for a patient. But there has to be a legal standard of some kind, and then you break it. But breaking that legal standard isn't enough. You see people drive down the road all the time and they're speeding. Have they committed a tort? No. That is what we call a tort in the air. What is required is the person has to have a duty, then break it, and the breaking of that legal duty must cause some injury to another. There has to be a duty, there has to be a breach, there has to be a cause of some injuries. So for example, I'm speeding down the road like a breaking every speed law there is, but I don't ever strike you. Is that a tort? Answer, no. Until I hit you and cause you physical injury or damage your car, I haven't committed a tort against you. I have to cause your injury while I'm breaking the law. I hope you've learned a lot about torts today. I'm Jeff Henley. I'll see you soon. Until then, you stay out of trouble or the law dogs will get you.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear?
Law Dog.